how did you find dealing in a man's world in a genre of music that's also primarily men that you're working with? How did you did you ever come up against any kind of sexism?
Yes.
You have the floor.
Yes. But I am so proud to say that with all of the groups that I have ever worked with, from McCoy Tyner at 14 years old to Aaron Graves at 84 years old, they always respected me. I never had to say no. I never had to threaten them. And I never had any type of physical contact with any of the men in the groups that I work with, except for Lee Smith, and I changed his diapers. No, don't you put that in there. No.
No, when I mean sexism, though, mostly is that,
I could get the job if I.
Oh, not just that. Also, we've all run into that kind of stuff. But I mean, how some musicians kind of disrespect you because you're the singer.
Yes.
You're not part of the group, that sort of thing.
I used to go to see Arthur Prysock and Betty Burgess. And the only musician that I feel so despicable about was Red Pyrsock. He was gross. He was gross. He had no respect for any woman. He was the total opposite. Arthur was debonair and suave, and Red was a pig. He was a real pig. I heard him talk about a woman once. I wasn't in the conversation, but I heard him talk about a woman once. I went to see Dexter Gordon, whom I love, fell in love with long, tall Dexter.
Yeah.
Looked like Tucker, don't he?
Yeah. Yes, he does.
I went to see him at a club that was on South Street near 5th. I don't know what the name of it was, but Dexter Gordon was there.
Was that Grendel's Lair?
No. Was it? Maybe it was.
5th and South.
5th and
That
South.
was Grendel's. That's where that was.
Yeah.
When you go down South Street, it's on the right side of the street?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Grendel's Lair.
Yeah.
I went there with Betty Carroll.
Oh, Betty Carroll, that's right.
And I don't know how Red showed up, but he was talking about this woman, and it was very repulsive. And I just never had anything. And if Arthur was around or the two of them were together, I just alienated myself from that because I didn't want to say anything to him, and I didn't want him to respond to me.
Right.
But he is the only musician that I know that was that gross. And I just never had that kind of problem.
Now I wanted to. That's great. Now, you were on Mike Douglas' show.
Yes.
All right, tell us about that.
Listen, I worked at Channel 6. I didn't work at Channel 6. They had a show called Black Book on Channel 6. And I was invited to sing there on Channel 6. Somehow or another, an agent contacted me from the Mike Douglas show. They were located on Walnut Street then.
Right.
And I thought it was a hoax at first, you know. But I was invited to do a segment there, and I just could not believe it. I'm gonna tell you, I wish I had that picture. That's when this was in the 60s now. I had a mini dress, a silver mini dress, and I sat on a park bench, and they had like it was Central Park, you know, and Mike was interviewing me, and I'm trying to think what I sang. If we keep talking, I'll think of it. I think I sang The Nearness of You. And he was talking to me, and I was singing. That was the only time that I was there. But he saw me or saw this segment of Black Book. And I sang it on Black Book.
Right.
So that's the reason why he wanted me to do it on his show. Mm-hmm. And when I was on Black Book, I was on that show with Baby Seals and what's the fat guy's name? You know who I'm talking about?
Yeah.
The who?
I know who you.
They're comedians. It was Baby Seals and Here Come the Judge.
Oh, good. Now my mind's going.
I can't remember.
He was a heavy-set guy. Baby Seals was a little shrimp.
Right.
I'll think of it, and Sue, and I'll tell you.
Yeah.
But Baby Seals, I did a little skit with them on Black Book. But
is there video of any of this? Any copies?
You could get it. You can
No.
find out from Channel 6.
Diane told me, yeah. We're gonna work. It's possible we're gonna get a grant to do something on just Philadelphia.
You
singers
should be
from
able.
And she said Pearl's got a lot of this stuff on YouTube. So if I find any, I can email it to you.
Okay, because it was Channel 6. It was called WFIL then,
Right,
say
right.
Channel 6. But it's what, WPVI or something like that. But it was Black Book. You can get it. What
They
is
should
it?
have those archived.
Yes, because for 2 years, I got a check from them if they had a rerun.
Right.
If they did a rerun of that particular show. But I did that, Here Come the Judge. What is his
I'm looking it up right now. It's bothering me to no end. Come on. Coined.
So while she's doing that, what other clubs were you playing at in the 60s?
I did in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Well, see, you had so many small clubs. The 4-6 Club had a Pigmeat Markham.
Oh.
Pigmeat Markham and Baby C.
Oh, we gotta find that. We gotta find it.
Yes, honey, because he's sitting behind the desk like the judge, and Baby Seals is standing down under it, and I'm got my hands clasped up, looking up at him or something, and he was just a little skit. That's what they told me they wanted me to do, and I did. It was so funny. But Mike Douglas didn't use that, but he wanted me sitting on the bench singing. I wish I had that picture. I don't even know.
We might be able to get something. I can do a newspaper search on things that were
Back there.
Yeah.
And Al Gray got me. I went with Al Gray to sing for one of the governors. I sang for one of the what's his name? They're not speaking too highly of him. A sheriff that was his name Green that retired.
Yeah, he got in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, I did his retirement party down, and it was on the Parkway. I did transcriptions for 274. They would send us different places. That's when I met Bootsy.
He was secretary there.
Huh?
He was secretary there at one time.
But I didn't meet him there.
Oh.
When I was working with Oliver Collins and Joe Kearney got a transcription, and we met Bootsy at Gretaford.
Would you describe what a transcription is?
Transcription is just the local sends you out on different jobs, and it's just a one-day thing.
Like union gigs.
It's a union gig. If you are a member of the union, you pay your dues, then they allocate so many transcriptions to you. Oliver Collins got it. I didn't have to. I got a couple of transcriptions because they were in the park. And I worked with Jimmy Gaskins. So we would combine them. But Oliver Collins got this gig with the group, and we went up to Gretaford Prison. And when we went up to Gretaford Prison, the warden told us that there was a certain prisoner who was, someone that was incarcerated that wanted to play with the group, and that's something that they didn't do. But how did Oliver feel about it? So Oliver asked him who it was, and the warden informed him. And that was the first time that I had heard this individual play. This was in the 60s because he hadn't finished serving his time. And we corresponded. I wrote to him, he wrote to me, and then I think when he was released, he went to live with his parents or his mother on Ridge Avenue, and that's how I met him. I worked at a place called the Underground at Broad and Spruce Street. And Bill Cosby was the bartender, and he told jokes when we got off, in between breaks. He was the bartender. Oliver Collins and I worked with Oliver a lot.
Yeah.
I worked with Oliver a lot.
Did you record with Oliver at all? Is there any cassettes or recordings?
Cassettes, and Oliver's in Florida now.
Oh.
I worked with Lenny Wilson, and I might have some cassettes of Lenny Wilson.
That would be great because we're also collecting old tapes like from Margaret McGriff, Jimmy McGriff's widow. She's given us a bunch of Jimmy McGriff's.
I sang at his funeral.
Did you?
Yes, his mother asked me to sing. I did a couple of gigs with Jimmy McGriff.
So if you know if anybody's got tapes of you.
I got some tapes. I got some tapes in my garage.
Oh, okay.
And I'm going to see. And there was Lenny Wilson. I might have one with Jimmy McGriff. I had one of Gerald and I don't know because Gerald started working with Justine.
Right. Do you have a survey form with you?
Yes.
Oh, good. Because she's got some stuff out here and everything.
Good.
And but you see, we haven't got to the best part of my life yet. I was working with Oliver. I don't know if it was Oliver or Colmore. I was working up in Johnny Drew's. And Al Gray came in and said, I might have a real nice gig for you. And I asked him, what was it about? And he says, well, I can't speak on it now because it might not come to fruition. But I got a telegram from Frank Foster.
Oh.
Irene Reid had an ectopic pregnancy and couldn't complete the contract. Basie didn't have but one singer contracted to him, and that was Joe Williams. He didn't have female vocalists.
Right.
When he had a female vocalist, it was only for specific gigs. And Irene Reid was supposed to be with him at the Valley Forge Music Fair. She had an ectopic pregnancy. I got a telegram from Frank Foster because Danny Turner at that time was playing first alto saxophonist with Basie, and Al Gray was the trombonist, and they recommended me to replace Irene Reid. I got the telegram asking me to come to New York for an audition. Amanda Thigpen was there. I don't know who this other girl was, but I had met her at Left Bank in Baltimore. And I did I'm trying to think. I only did 3 tunes. I had to do Blackbird. I don't know what the other 2 was. I think I have it on the Stella by Starlight was the second one. I don't know what the third one was, but anyhow, they told me they would let me know. Frank Foster asked me had I ever met Count Basie, and I told him no. You know, I had heard about him and what have you. And Basie sashayed in the room, and when he sashayed in the room, he said, "Fellas, I want you to holster your dicks." Is that going on the tape?
It's too late now.
No, we got that now.
We can edit it out.
Basie said, holster your dicks, because we're going to have a new singer.
God.
But what I liked about him, and I liked about Frank, they assigned me a traveling partner, and Danny Turner was my traveling partner. The men were on one floor, and I slept on the floor with Basie and Catherine. With no fraternizing supposedly to be between the members of the band. But of course, you know about who I replaced and the drummer.
Right.
And because of that, it was a big stink. And that's when he got rid of Sonny Payne.
Mm-hmm.
He got rid of Sonny Payne for that. And they hired a Caucasian fellow by the name of Bruce Mills. Young guy.
Butch Miles, right?
Bruce Mills.
Mills, was it? Okay.
Bruce Miles was a piano player, blind piano player. I worked with him just one gig. He's the only one that asked me for some.
Yeah. Really?
Yes, he did.
Yeah, he was a little bit of a pig. Yeah.
Well, not a little bit.
Yeah.
He asked me, I'm glad I told you this. He was blind. And he asked me, could he, feel my face?
Right.
And I allowed him to do it. He felt my hair. It wasn't gray. Then that thought it was black.
Right.
And he felt my face, and he came on there, and I said, now, this SOB, getting a little but he didn't go here. But he touched me and he told me that he could tell the texture of my skin that I wasn't Caucasian. And he came on and he came down, but of course then I was shapely and he gouged me. So that was the end of that. Ron Thomas had introduced me to him. Ron Thomas was
I worked with him quite a bit.
Is he still alive?
Yeah, he is. He is still alive.
I would love to see him or hear from him.
He lives out in Coatesville or something, didn't he?
He lives out in Westchester, somewhere around there.
I would love.
Westchester, yeah.
Yeah.
But Ron Thomas introduced me to him.
Oh, really? Okay.
And
But anyway, back to Basie.
Basie told him the whole story.
So that was going to be the next question I asked you. It was about the Basie gig. So how many gigs did you do with Basie?
I did. I finished her thing. We did the Valley Forge Music Fair twice. We went up to Connecticut. We went down to Fayetteville. We did a. We didn't do anything. I didn't do anything out of the country with him. But I said Connecticut. I think we were in Boston or someplace like that. But after that, Frank asked me would I be interested. And I told him yes, but remember my girl's getting ready to go. My girls are getting ready to come out of high school, go into college.
Right.
And they couldn't guarantee me anything, but it would be, they don't ask to give you a contract at the last minute.
Right.
They let you know what is available when he would call. But I lived in a suitcase.
Right.
I'm used to working a gig 2 or 3 days, a weekend, a week. You know, where I can go into a hotel and sleep or wherever I'm going to be.
Right.
I was Philadelphia, New York, Chicago, you know, maybe Cleveland, L.A. I was on the Caribbean or Caribbean, whichever way you want to say it. But for me to be in Boston one night and then in Fayetteville, I wasn't used to. Yeah,
Difficult. Yeah.
I couldn't do that because at the last minute I could not ask my mother. My mother was aging,
Right.
and I wasn't going to put that on Miss Smith. And my kids, Mom. Even though what I was doing was helping them in school.
I found out this is a very common story from almost every single jazz singer I've interviewed who was a mother. And Evelyn Sims, she lost an awful lot of
Yes.
good opportunities.
When I met Evelyn was down at the Cafe Borgia. She was ready to leave it, and because she was having a lot of family problems, she asked me to.
Yeah.
Yes. With Lonnie and
Her son.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I didn't, but Evelyn worked a lot with Shirley Scott.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to work with Trudy, but Trudy sang.
Right.
So I didn't. Listen. I've worked with some great musicians. I worked with Thornell Schwartz, Eddie McFadden. I've got pictures. Eddie McFadden and I worked together. We had a little something to go on. We were going around. And Sid Simmons, I worked down Ortlieb's. And he even worked with Alfie Pollard. I worked with Alfie Pollard twice. Paid him well. I worked with him down at the Blue Note. And Alfie came to me. I didn't care because he had dreadlocks. If that's you, that's you. But he came with black patent leather shoes, one red sock, one green sock, a pair of red pants, a green jacket, and a black top hat.
Love it.
And I had charts made. I had a lot of charts. And I put them in front of him. He didn't play not one chart. I don't know what he was playing. But I never called Alfie again. He called me and I did something for him. But you know what? This is really funny. I worked with Don Patterson and Billy James. Don Patterson was an excellent organist, but I made him angry about something. And we were singing something like witchcraft. And whatever I said to him, he didn't take it too well. And in the channel, instead of bringing me back in the channel, he started playing the Star Spangled Banner.
Oh.
All that kind of shit. Don Patterson. I thought he was crazy. But you know who was even crazier than him? Howard Whaley. But Demon was like... He was like Don Wilson. He knew 1 million tunes and could play them in 1 million keys. But you never say, and I never want it to be said, that I compare any musician with another, because I don't sound like Sarah and I love her. I don't sound like Carmen. I'm Pearl. But I met 2 phenomenal pianists in my life. Don Wilson was one. Or more than 2. Don Wilson, Tom Lawton,
Oh, yeah.
and Aaron Graves. Aaron just grew on me. Aaron, when I did my CD, Aaron said, I'm going to take this chair and break it across your back. He asked me to sing something, and I was trying so hard to hear it. And he said, well, do you need a hearing aid?
Oh, shit.
But I loved him and Twig. I never really liked working with a guitarist. I worked with Eddie McFadden, Thornell Schwartz, and Twig. But Twig and I had a melodic marriage since Twig was playing doo-wop. I met him through Betty Carroll. Betty Carroll was working at the Cotton Club with Joe Johnson, and I was working with Johnny Williams over at Dreamland, and we switched back and forth. And Betty lived on 1 floor, and Twig lived up on the 3rd floor. And she said, you gotta hear this young guitarist. But when I would hear Twig, he was playing the doo-wop. So when I really got an opportunity to hear him play jazz, you know, it was a little different. But I miss it. I miss singing. But you have to pass the baton at one point in time in your life. And I'm happy because there's so many vocalists that are coming up today. I went to tribute at Canaan Baptist Church that they were honoring Tony Williams and Cora Wells. And this young lady was singing at La Rose, and I cared about her, but I never really listened to her. And she was on that program, and she sang Caravan, Tanya Lynette. Blew me away. I've never heard anyone do it. The closest to that was to hear Sarah Vaughan do Cherokee.
Right.
But Tanya was fantastic. And I could feel me in her because the way she conveyed the words, and you could hear Butch fingertips on the drums in the way she was singing Caravan. It was really fantastic.